Sat Shri Akal, welcome to I'm a Brown Girl. My name's Amma. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the queer community, how I feel like I need more queer friends, how it's been since I've come out, especially in relation to Pride Month. Growing up, I never knew that I'd end up being queer, let alone create a life that gives me complete autonomy. My brain capacity as a child couldn't even comprehend queerness because I was quite closeted. I think I was always curious when I was younger, hence why I searched two girls kissing on YouTube, which is such a universal experience. But I do wonder where that comes from because I was never exposed to queerness. My curiosity of questioning if the same sex could be together shows that I had depth as a young person, and I questioned everything. But that resulted in me feeling very lonely because I couldn't talk to my parents about it. I certainly couldn't speak to other kids about it because they would definitely snitch. And there was already a huge lack of representation in our community. I don't think I'd even seen a gay person for whatever that was meant to look like. I genuinely believed that gay people looked a certain way, that they had horns in their head, that they were unsafe to be around and they were not accepted. It was a big no-no. And that was how I was raised. Even growing up with mainstream media and Bollywood, it was always the man and the woman, they fall in love, which is beautiful. And I love Bollywood. But it's only in recent years that there's been more films in Bollywood created around queer love. In many of our South Asian cultures, being queer has historically been taboo, and that stigma is still very apparent and shows up in many different ways. According to a 2019 report by the Indian government, same-sex sexual activity is criminalized under Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. Although the Supreme Court decriminalized it in 2018, but people's attitudes have had little to no difference, and same-sex marriage in India is criminalized. Also, with all the news around trans women and defining the term women, trans women are women, and that is that. And to see how some people have got away with clear transphobia in plain sight has been horrific and absolutely disgusting. I think being trans in the UK for trans people is becoming harder and harder. We're portrayed as a country in the media to be super open and very liberal, but we're not. I also want to just lightly touch upon our Indian culture in terms of sex and identity and how much there is to show for that. Sure, there's people in our culture and in every culture who have a very backward way of thinking and are not open to sex and identity and accepting that people come in all different shapes and sizes and sexualities. But if you look at ancient Indian texts like the Kama Sutra, that text discusses multiple forms of gender and sexuality. Also, the Hajara community in South Asia are recognized with their long and rich history as a third gender. However, colonial laws and modern society has suppressed or even marginalized these identities. And the fight for LGBTQ+ rights in those countries, especially India, have been ongoing and challenging. Like, sure, decriminalizing homosexuality in India is a great win, but we still have a very long way to go, especially in some of the attitudes people have towards homosexuality. Despite the history and the modern advancements that we've had, many queer people still feel isolated. Pride parades and LGBTQ+ organizations are more present in Western countries. But from what I know, with pride parades in India, they do happen and they are celebrated depending on the city that you're in, but they are met with a lot of resistance. There's always a commotion and sometimes even violence. For me, Pride Month is a reminder for how far we've come, but also a reminder for how far we need to go. I do think there's more queer spaces in the Western side of the world, not enough in the Eastern side of the world for obvious reasons. But I think a start is always good, especially with the megacities in the UK like London, Manchester, Birmingham. There's a lot more queer events. And I recently saw someone I follow on Instagram. Her name's Shaz. She's an amazing content creator. I really love what she does. She posts a lot about queer awareness. She posts her partner a lot. She does great stuff. And she recently held an event for a queer picnic, which unfortunately I couldn't attend to. I'm hoping to make it to the next one. But even that is such a nice way to get the community together and for people to feel less lonely. And I really like that Shaz did that because it wasn't during Pride Month. And I think that's the whole point, where it shouldn't just be queer events happening during Pride. It needs to be a throughout the year and a forever thing. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode. I was saying how I feel like I could do with more queer friends. I love my friends now, but there's only a few specific friends I have who truly understand queer experiences, queer love, scissoring. I feel better understood and validated by those specific individuals. And I could really do with some queer friends who understand me and I understand them. I swear I'm going to manifest it and put it on my vision board. I don't have a single desi, Punjabi, queer female friend like me. I'm not saying I want to be friends with me. I mean, who would be friends with me? But I don't know. I just maybe need to go to more queer events. I don't know. Also, little side note, I really dislike people who are very anti pride in terms of like bright colors and showing queerness and being super gay, all the sparkles, everything, whatever. I don't understand it, because if that's what it's going to take to be represented and take up space, so be it. We can't be ignorant to the fact that we still live amongst individuals who are incredibly homophobic, transphobic, and just generally unpleasant. I've never really understood why those individuals are so pressed. Like, how miserable has one got to be? Just before I wrap up this episode, I've done a little bit of research regarding queer facts. So just in case, if you've made it up to this point, you go away with something. And if you haven't learned anything up until this point, have you been listening? And if you haven't, this is the point to listen now. Did you know the first Pride in India was held in Kolkata in 1999? The Hijara community has been recognized legally as a third gender in India since 2014. South Asian queer organizations such as Desi Queer Pride and Nazariya have been working tirelessly to create visibility and support. So if you're someone like me who feels as though they need more queer friends, I'd check those two out. And did you know there are around 150 countries and territories around the world who still criminalize homosexuality? In terms of me and my queerness and where I'm at right now, I would say that I'm incredibly confident, I'm very open, and I hope to inspire those who are struggling with their sexuality or being in the closet. I know it's not for everyone to be out comfortably, but I hope by seeing someone like me who is desi and queer and proud, that you are reminded that you are real, that you are validated, that I hope in the future you are able to come out and be supported. Not too long ago, I was thinking in regards to my culture and religion specifically, my dream would be to have a queer space within Gurdwaras, because in Sikhism, it's not actually against my religion to be queer. I just think it's people who have manipulated and given being gay a very bad name. But if you actually look at our scriptures in Sikhism, there's nothing that goes against it. Our religion is very much about being equal, being kind, not judging others, and doing right. So in terms of me and my queerness, I'm a lot more confident. Yes, there are still struggles that I have sometimes in terms of having an identity crisis, especially when I'm around family and relatives and not knowing if I can be myself. But that is the least of my struggles, and I know how far I've come. Overall, to conclude this episode, we can say that yes, there are a lot more queer spaces, but there are still not enough. We could definitely do with more. In my opinion, I think queer events should be more available throughout the year and forever, rather than there just being a high number of queer events during Pride. And I understand we're trying to celebrate Pride, and I absolutely love that, but it should be something that's apparent throughout forever. Trans women are women, and for the fact that we're debating in 2025 what a woman is, and invalidating trans people and their experiences and their identity and their existence, disgusting. I'm glad that there is a lot more progress for trans rights. However, we still have a very long way to go, because we live amongst people who are incredibly homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic. We live in a fascist society, technically, if you really think about it. And that's terrifying. So I will die always raving about queer rights, trans rights, and making sure that message is always put forward. And lastly, I really need more queer friends. And I'm not talking about, oh yeah, I just kissed a girl once in the club and I think I'm bi. No, I mean genuinely proud of who you are as a queer person. You've had queer experiences, that you understand, that you'd be open to going to queer events together, going to a picnic, I don't know, whatever. I am down. So please DM me. I could really do with more queer friends. In terms of my end of episode check-in, I've been doing a lot better, still taking every day as it comes. I have still been going through a lot of personal stress and really struggled to deal with it. I feel a lot more sensitive. I feel that I need a lot more emotional support from my loved ones. And I find the smallest of tasks quite difficult in terms of remembering to eat, and having the energy to do things just like in my day-to-day has been a lot. And mentally, I'm a lot more on edge at times just due to the stress that I've been going through. But I'm incredibly positive. I'm trying to take every day as it comes. I'm trying to pursue my ambitions and my dreams. Not even trying, I am pursuing my dreams and aspirations or whatever. But I've been DJing, I've been learning how to produce music, and I've absolutely loved that process. And I've also been going to Transmission Roundhouse because I'm on their podcasting cohort for this year. And I've learned so much from them. I feel inspired every time I go, even though at times I don't have complete energy, like physical energy to be there. Mentally, that's the one time where I can switch off the world and just be like, right, this is what I'm going to focus on. In terms of the progress of my podcast, there are things coming. I'm definitely going to be putting out a survey to just be like, what do you guys want to hear more of? Is it you want to see me having guests on, or you want to see a more specific documentary style podcast about a specific thing that I've gone through or experiences or whatever? If you have ideas on expanding the podcast or there's something more you want to see of, please drop me a DM. I am open to suggestions, and it's a very exciting time to see where this podcast is going to go. Also, next Monday, I'm getting 4 of my wisdom teeth removed, which have caused me an immense amount of grief. So I'm glad to finally get them removed. But I don't know what spell I was under that I thought it'd be a good idea to tell my dentist that, yeah, it's fine. I'll get all 4 removed at one go. And it's just local anesthetic. I'm not even being put under like properly. It's just the one where you know what's happening, but your mouth is numbed. I don't know why I signed up to that, but I need to get it done. I think my pain tolerance will be fine. I'm not trying to think about it too much. I'm just like, it is what it is. We're going to do it. We're going to get it out of the way. And that is that. I also had a wedding this past weekend. Wow. One of the best weddings I've ever been to. I was surrounded by great people, the food, the music, the speeches, the outfits, the vibes, the consideration that the bride and the groom had in terms of their guests. There was a hamper in the girls' toilets and the guys' toilets with like elastic bands, clips, hairspray, deodorant, pads. That is so considerate. I've never been to a wedding and seen that. I was thoroughly impressed. They had fans, they had an ice cream truck, they had a churros truck. By far one of the best weddings I've ever been to. I absolutely loved it. And it was my first time going to a church wedding where I saw the whole, you may now kiss the bride, and I do, and all of that. I loved it. I've never been in a church where I've witnessed a wedding, and it was beautiful to see different cultures and religions come together. Apart from that, I'm taking every day as it comes, and I hope you guys are also taking it easy on yourself and not being too hard. If you have made it to the end of this episode, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I thank you so much for your engagement. It really means the world to me, even if it's a like, a share, a comment, a DM, anything. It really does make a difference, and this is exactly why I do it. So I thank you. And on that note, I thank you for watching. I thank you for listening. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Sat Shri Akal. Bye.